So, imagine this. A developer described an app in plain English, never wrote a single line of code themselves, and actually shipped it, right? No, that's not some hypothetical scenario from a sci-fi future. That is a very real and honestly increasingly common way that software actually gets built right now. People are calling it vibe coding.
Hey everyone, I'm Techie from AI Tech Hub, and welcome to this explainer. Okay, let's just dive right into this because we are looking at a radical shift in software development today. I mean, we're moving away from those days of manually typing out incredibly complex syntax, debugging missing semicolons for hours on end, and moving towards simply describing the outcomes you want to see. It's a completely new paradigm, and it's totally shaking up how we even define what a developer is.
Let's make this super concrete right away. Say you want a simple app to track your workouts. In the past, right, you'd open a code editor, set up a database, and start writing out all your functions. But with vibe coding, you just type something like, hey, build me a page where I can log an exercise, the weight, and the reps, and see a list of everything I've logged. An AI coding tool takes that plain English and just generates the actual app right in front of you. You look at it, it's close, but maybe the list is in the wrong order. So you don't dig into the code to fix the sorting logic, you just type a complaint. You say, hey, show the most recent one first. And boom, the app magically updates. You just keep going exactly like this. Describe, look, adjust, until the app actually does what you want. There's no detailed spec written up front, and in a lot of cases, absolutely no line-by-line review of the generated code. You are literally just describing the outcome and reacting to what comes back.
And honestly, that brilliantly illustrates where the name genuinely comes from, vibe coding. You are literally coding by vibe, by feel, rather than by some precise, rigid specification. The core philosophy here is that you're just not thinking in functions and variables anymore. You aren't mapping out complex data structures in your head. Instead, you're thinking purely in outcomes. Like, does this look right? Does this feel right? Does this perform the exact action I wanted it to do when I click this button?
This philosophical shift is best understood through an everyday analogy, and it's actually one of my absolute favorites. Think about the difference between following a recipe exactly, where you have these precise measurements, exact techniques, quarter teaspoons of this and that, versus describing a dish to a master chef instead. If you want a great meal, you don't hand a master chef a heavily measured, rigid recipe. I mean, unless you want them to throw a spatula at you. No, you say, I want something warm, a little spicy, maybe not too heavy. Then you taste what they make. You adjust. You say, needs a bit more salt. You taste again. You are not specifying the recipe. You are steering toward a result. And the absolutely crucial point here is that vibe coding is that exact same shift applied directly to software. You're not specifying the code, you're steering toward the outcome. Now, I want to make a quick distinction here, because this connects directly to other AI tools we've been seeing. On one hand, you have agentic coding tools like Claude Code. It explores your code base, it plans, it executes, and, this is the critical part, it hands you back a real, reviewable change. That review step matters immensely. You're still acting as an engineer, looking at actual code before it goes anywhere real to approve it. But on the flip side, with vibe coding, as a practice, it often just skips that review step entirely. Now, okay, not always. Plenty of people vibe code and still read the output if they have the skills to do it. But the defining feature, the thing that makes it vibe coding specifically, is leaning way further into trusting the result without necessarily verifying the underlying code itself. It's a lot less, let me check this syntax, and far more, does the front end work the way I want it to? Okay, let's drop the hype for a second and get real about the trade-off here. Your speed goes way, way up. I mean, you can go from a raw idea to a working prototype genuinely, dramatically fast compared to writing everything by hand. But skipping that code review means you are fundamentally disconnected from the machinery you just built. You might be creating a beautiful user interface, but under the hood, you could be driving a sports car completely blindfolded.
So what actually happens when you don't look at the code? Well, the harsh realities start to pile up. You get security issues where you inadvertently leave your database wide open to the public. You get inefficient logic. Just imagine a hidden infinite loop in your unreviewed code accidentally racking up a massive cloud computing bill overnight while you sleep. Yikes. And of course, there's the classic problem of code that works perfectly today, but then breaks in a bizarre, totally unfixable way next month just because you never actually looked at it to understand its foundation. This is a real, known criticism of the practice. It is not just some hypothetical concern. For anything that actually matters, anything going to a production environment, anything handling real user data, that gap in knowledge is a massive liability, not just a minor detail.
So, where does this actually genuinely make sense? Well, there's a pretty clear dividing line. For quick prototypes or personal tools that nobody else depends on,
Vibe coding is absolutely incredible. If you're testing an idea out before you invest real serious time into it, these are situations where good enough and fast heavily beats correct and slow. The cost of something going wrong is genuinely low. But step over the line into anything handling real user data, anything with real security implications, or honestly, any mission-critical infrastructure where saying I don't actually know what this code does is a genuinely dangerous place to be, yeah, vibe coding becomes a terrible idea for sure.
Let's zoom out a bit to wrap our heads around the big picture, because this connects to something much more profound than just one specific workflow. We are literally watching the actual skill of building software fundamentally shift right in front of us. For a rapidly growing set of tasks, the core competency is moving away from knowing how to write the code and moving toward knowing how to describe the outcome and evaluate the result. That requires a completely different mindset, one focused on communication, critical thinking, and rapid iteration. Now, to be clear, it's not necessarily a total replacement for understanding computer science, but it is a genuinely different way of working, and it is becoming incredibly common, incredibly fast.
So just to lock this all in, vibe coding is about describing what you want in plain language and iterating based on the result, exactly like describing a dish to a chef instead of following a rigid recipe. It's wildly fast and genuinely useful for prototypes and low-stakes projects, but undeniably risky for anything where you actually need to know what the machine is doing, which brings us to a massive question for the future. Are we moving to a reality where human developers only ever evaluate results and never touch the underlying logic again? What do you think? That's vibe coding in a nutshell. If you want to see this actually done, live, from start to finish, drop a comment below with the word vibe. And if you found this explainer useful, make sure to subscribe. We have a new one every time. See you in the next one.